Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show, Spin the Career Wheel with Nikhil Malhotra. While many students place a strong emphasis on academic rankings, today we are going to discuss what other factors truly matter in choosing a university and building a successful career. And to discuss that, we have Jo Ligouris, Executive Director, Student and Scholarly Services, and also Academic Registrar at the University of Melbourne. Welcome, Jo.
Thank you, Nikhil. I'm really pleased to be here with you
Thank you
today.
so much. Thank you so much. It's our pleasure. And you just mentioned that this is your first visit to Delhi.
Yes, it certainly is, and to India
To
itself.
India,
So yes, acclimatizing to the weather.
Yes, it has to be. We are one of the more than 43 degrees yesterday, so not a good time to visit. But thank you so much. You took
Thank
time
you.
out in this weather. So, Jo, when students think about studying abroad, normally they focus on rankings, admissions, careers. But from your experience, what is that truly matters once they arrive at the university?
Well, I think the quality of the institution and obviously the academic part of the journey is really, really important.
Correct.
Obviously, the academic quality of the institution is really important, but certainly from my perspective and welcoming so many students to the University of Melbourne, what's really critical is that students find a sense of belonging, that they build a community, they become part of a community, not just the university community, but the community more broadly.
Correct.
But also ensuring that they sort of build the resilience to be able to take, that journey and take that leap of faith really in terms of moving overseas and moving into a new environment.
I agree. I think this is a very good term which you have used is about resilience. I was going through Uni Melbourne's 2030 vision. I
Yes.
think it was very strongly talking about there. Yeah.
That's right. So just resilience, particularly in a context where the world is changing so significantly, in terms of the global context, but also within, technology and the rise of artificial intelligence and what that means as a student and as a young person as well. So, for us at the University of Melbourne, building the resilience in everything we do, in the classroom, in the research we undertake, but also how we support our students to build their own resilience is really important.
I agree. I love that word. So I'll move forward now and I'll try to deep dive into all
Excellent.
that what you have spoken just now. So let's imagine a student who's sitting in India. He receives an offer letter from the University of Melbourne. What is happening behind the scenes even before the student has traveled to Australia?
There's a lot happening. And certainly, from our perspective, the University of Melbourne, over a team of 1,000 people.
1,000?
1,000 staff.
In Australia,
In
yeah.
Australia, at Melbourne University, who was, planning to welcome new students to the university. We do that each semester, obviously, with our intakes. So from designing and curating the orientation program for us to welcome students to, planning timetable, from getting our classrooms ready, from making sure our programs that we run through our libraries are also ready and ready to receive students, as well as all the other support services. We're planning as we await our new intake.
You in one of our discussions, you mentioned that you have 7 libraries. So what is the logic behind 7? Is it just the location? Because I know Uni Melbourne is one huge campus. So what does that mean? Why those 7 libraries came into
Yeah,
picture?
that's a great question. And we have multiple campuses at the University of Melbourne. So we have our main Parkville campus.
Yeah.
We've got our South Bank campus where we've got a fine arts and music disciplines there, as well as other campuses in more regional areas. And most of those have their own libraries. But also on the Parkville campus, which is the main campus, we have libraries that are focused around particular disciplines. So, for example, we have our main library that's geared towards the humanities in the main, but then we've got the law library.
And
then
that's
we've
very
got-
important.
Very important to have, a specialised library. We also have a library in our architecture faculty as well that we support, which is specific for design students as well. So we take both the location but also a
And that's
disciplined
good to know.
approach.
And I think that's the advantage of studying at Australia's number one,
That's right.
or rather any top rank university, because you'll have all that infrastructure. The reason student is taking all that time and the reason we are doing this podcast, to take all
Absolutely.
that out and give
Absolutely.
it openly to the students. So So another question which is coming to my mind is, what are those anxieties which international students face even before taking a flight to Australia, and how do universities help them prepare for this prepare them emotionally and practically for this major transition?
Yeah, and look, I will say, having attended some pre-departure sessions here in the last couple of days at the University of Melbourne with our team here, what strikes me is very much the unknown, students, particularly students who've not travelled to the destination that they're arriving in. So
anxiety of unknown, yeah?
absolutely.
Yeah, yes.
Not knowing where they're going to be able to figure things out, or, feeling like, will they meet people who, are like-minded, for example. So, we prepare students to embark on that journey through these pre-departures, so we can give them practical advice about what they're going to need to get started, but also an opportunity for them to meet some peers.
Some friends, even before they fly.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And I think that helps not only the students but also the parents feel a sense of confidence, and also that the students are able to put some faces to names.
Correct.
And meet some of the staff from the university that will be on the other side to greet them when they arrive.
So what I understand, the university, some of the staff take that initiative to come to India, do these pre-departure events, meet the students, so that students know, okay, I'll meet someone there. That's great. So now let's go to the next journey. Next step is the student finally lands in Melbourne. The excitement is real for him, but so is homesickness and the culture shock. So what are those first few weeks usually like for international students?
Yeah.
Once they land?
It's, look, I understand the anxiety that students, would be feeling, particularly, they land in Melbourne and everything looks new, and I'm sure there's an element of excitement still, but also perhaps some trepidation about whether they made the right decision or not. And I think it's only when, they come on campus and they're part of formal orientation programs that students will start feeling like I am part of something bigger. And I really encourage students to participate in those activities because it's an opportunity to meet new friends, opportunities to understand the university, be able to navigate it. But also I think what's really, really important is for them to understand that every other student is in the same position, including domestic students.
That's a very interesting point. That's a very interesting point, that you are not all alone. You're with all those who are all in the same boat.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So I think for students, they need to understand that the person who might be sitting next to them is probably feeling the same way.
Correct.
And and sometimes it takes a bit of courage to turn to the person next to you and introduce yourself. But I really encourage that because everyone's looking for their peer network and their community.
No, great. But at the same time, like you said, they can interact with anyone. But at the same time, there are some students who don't want to discuss their problem with anyone because maybe they think that they can solve it themselves, or they don't want to even discuss with their parents back home because they don't want them to be worried. Now, how do you identify and support such students who might be struggling silently?
Yeah. And this is something that I think as an institution, we're positioned really well to support students. And we encourage all students to reach out if they're struggling. And it could be speaking to an academic, their teacher, if they've built a good rapport with them, or coming into student services to have a conversation with one of our student advisors. And those conversations are confidential as well.
Okay.
And so an opportunity really...
And the students need to know this, right? I think this is a very important point. That if they're coming and speaking to someone, all that is confidential. Nobody knows it.
That's right. Yeah. And certainly the networks and the teams we have in student services, if we identify that the student might need particular support, we'll make a referral. So we have counselling and psychological support available at the university.
Within the university?
Within the university, we have health services.
Okay.
So if they need medical advice, or it could be around things like careers, or it could be around friendship making. So we can certainly advise students about how they could get involved in like clubs and societies, or engage with their cohort in different ways. Yeah.
Great. So one important message for parents Like I know when I talk to a lot of parents, they think that studying abroad is all about academics. If a student is excelling in academics, that means success for them. But from your perspective, what do you think really matters once the students are at university?
Well, as academic registrar, I have
Yes.
to agree with the parents that the academic side of this is really, really important.
Really important, yeah.
But I think to succeed, I think it's really about students taking opportunities that perhaps that might be outside of their comfort zone, and really exploring what university life can offer them.
Correct.
And I think it's all about personal growth. It's about building resilience. It's about opening your mind
Correct.
to new ideas
Right.
and new opportunities. And, they can do that through a myriad of ways, whether it's student clubs,
Correct.
getting
Correct.
involved in a sporting club if students
Right.
like sport.
Right.
It's about maybe exploring some new areas of interest, whether that's through, music or through art. So there's a lot of opportunities for students.
Within the campus?
Yes, within the campus or more broadly in the
Yeah.
city of Melbourne, where they can
Yeah,
engage in things that perhaps they never thought they could.
Correct, correct.
And I think that's what complements the academic side of things. And we encourage student volunteering, for example, where students can volunteer for perhaps, an organisation where they're passionate about a social good, for example, that they
Okay.
want to engage in. Not only is that great for them to build their career skills, but it's also, I think, a wonderful opportunity, again, to feel part of a community, but really just to take on some new and interesting things to do.
Correct. And I think what you're telling me is something like how a university is supporting a student beyond the classroom. Yeah. So yes, academics are important, but beyond and from your perspective, say let's compare two students. A student who actively participates in the campus life. Do you think these students adapt better emotionally, professionally with the outer world than those students who are only focused academically?
Yeah, I would say so in terms of, having more sort of rounded experiences, I think will hold those individual students in really good stead as they look to develop their career skills, but their life skills more generally, I think. One of the opportunities, international students, obviously in this case, students from India will have is being able to develop the skills in which they live independently.
Correct.
And those skills, obviously, they're supported by the university, but I think it will, hold them in good stead for how they'll live their life and building those lifelong skills. So I think taking those opportunities is really important, but there's also a balance. You can only do so much.
You can only do so much
There's
because
only so many clubs you can join.
Yeah.
But I think, those students who develop those peer networks and are really engaged in university life are the ones that, will certainly, build the resilience and strength for the next step in their journey.
So I have noticed one thing, I don't know whether it's true for other nationalities or not, but I have realized that students from India, once they are at the university, then they obviously make friends. And after maybe a year at the university, they try to move away from the university, take a flat wherein four of them will stay together, maybe to save on the accommodation. I personally, I think that's not the right choice, but maybe from you, what do you think? Do you think a decision like that is justified in the entire scheme of things?
Well, it's an interesting question. And I think, it might come down to, student preference, but
Yes.
certainly starting in student accommodation. And at the University of Melbourne, we offer our own student accommodation. We have affiliated colleges
Right,
that also offer residential experiences. I think that's important to support the transition, both the academic and social transition, to a new country, to a new institution. So I certainly encourage students to look at student accommodation because you immediately find friends because you're working and you're living and you're studying amongst peers, and I think that's really important. Being close to campus is also a benefit of student accommodation. You have access to the libraries, late in the evening,
yes.
and obviously, the safety of being close to campus as well is really really important. We do see students. A lot of domestic students might spend a year in a college or a residential facility, and then they might move out with friends. And that's a choice that some students make. But I think to get the rounded experience and ensure that students have the support, I think student accommodation is a really good option.
Because I'm sure you might have something related to sports, which students can do in their leisure time, or maybe the gyms and the swimming pools. I don't know, maybe something like that, all that available in the campus for the students.
That's right. So everything's at their fingertips, if you like. So, particularly if students are elite sports people as well, and a lot of training might go on, being close to campus to be able to access those facilities is really important.
Great. So all this is what I've spoken is like the physical thing.
Yeah.
But coming over to these days, universities are very tech driven. And how is AI and digital transformation changing the entire student experience, especially your role? You have been with the university for 25 years. I think you have seen all those phases. And now you are into a different phase, which everyone is talking about what AI is going to do. Are we going to see some robots at the university or what? Yeah.
Well, I think it's it's challenging our thinking in terms of, the kind of support we provide students and the channels in which we provide support to students as well. So from a service provision point of view, I think there's lots of opportunities around AI. We've recently launched an AI chat agent. So it's a 24/7 chat agent, not across all our services yet, but that's the ultimate goal, to ensure students have access to information when they want the information, not necessarily when we're open.
When
if
you are
like.
open, correct.
So that's the journey we're on. We haven't launched it fully because we're still training the bot, so the bot is accurate.
I can understand.
But I'm announcing it here in India today that we have an AI agent, and we're still looking for the name of the bot. But that is one way in which we're responding to student demand. And students want information; they want it quickly.
Correct.
Particularly when the information is something that they can easily self-solve. But what we're finding is where students are anxious or they're unsure, they actually want to come and see a human being. So what we're doing is looking at how AI can help us become more efficient in some areas to take away the workload from our staff, to allow our staff to actually, like I always say, become more human. So we have more time to spend with students, talking to them and advising them on more complex matters. So that's how we're using AI in student services point of view. But then there's, of course, AI and the academics and how is that playing out in that particular domain. And I think AI is really changing the nature of higher education. We do a lot of work with students so they're really clear on how to use AI responsibly within the context of their study and their assessment. And that's really, really important. And that's not to say there's ways in which AI can be used that's academically rigorous. And so we've been doing a lot of work at the University of Melbourne to build out those frameworks. So students are really clear about when they can be using AI as part of their studies, and when they shouldn't be using AI.
Shouldn't be using as a part of their studies.
That's right. That's
the
right.
very thin line. I agree.
Yeah.
So again, coming back to the AI agent, which you are talking about, you're in the process of developing that. I think sitting here in India, because we interact a lot with the parents, while the students can go and meet someone inhuman at the university, parents end up coming back to us. And I think it is a good initiative because parents always want to know what's happening in the student's life. If they are stuck, they really want to solve the problem. And because they don't know the entire ecosystem, they're not able to take any decision. And the anxiety, which was earlier of the student, ends up becoming of the parent now. I think such initiatives will really help them all that information right on their phones.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think a very good initiative.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, we operate in different time zones as
Correct.
well. So having an AI agent that's never sleeps
Yes.
is also going to be really important. So we can obviously answer the questions that
Correct.
applicants have who are
Correct.
applying to the
Correct.
institution,
Correct.
but also those students and parents who are preparing for the travel to Melbourne as well.
No, great. Thank you so much. So now let's talk about the final journey, which is, I think, again, coming back to Indian parents and students, when they join a university, after they have finalized a university, the next question which comes to their mind is, will I get a placement once I finish? And I think when the students are in their final year, there is a lot of excitement that they are going to finish the degree, but that is mixed emotions with uncertainty about the jobs, the future, what happens once my education is over. So what kind of support systems you have at this stage for these kids?
Well, it's interesting because there's the formal sort of support we have, or opportunities, if you like, that's built into the curriculum. So many of our bachelor's degrees or our master's degree have an internship opportunity within the degree that students can, elect to take. So there's that opportunity, and that's often in the sort of second or final year.
Yeah.
My advice to students is they have to start thinking about not necessarily where they want to go or where they should go in terms of their career, but what are the practical things they can do to start building their employability skills. And I think that's really important. And what we find is often students leave it to final year. My advice and, encouragement, perhaps after 6 months of studying and settling into Melbourne, for example, that students should start thinking about, well, what are some of the things I can do to really increase my chance of success when I graduate from the university?
I think this is very important point, and I think all those parents who are listening, they need to think of changing the mindset slowly, that it is not about the outcomes. Yes, it is about the outcomes, but I think we all know the outcome will depend upon the kind of product will become.
That's right.
And we are going to a university, especially a university like Uni Melbourne, which has all that infrastructure which one might need to be successful. So I think it's all about in being involved, being there. The university is up there. So what I understand from your discussion, especially that number of 1,000 plus staff, is that there is a lot of support available in whatever a student wants to do. It's all about they initiating and parents pushing them, always reminding them of not just academics, but other things as well.
Yeah, and we sort of talk about it as sort of co-curricular, what are the things they can do alongside their curriculum to help, to complement what they're learning formally, but also to build up their curriculum vitae, for example, their CV.
Yes.
So we offer, programs around volunteering, as I mentioned earlier, and I think that's really important. We can, and students can get recognised for their volunteering work, so they get additional certificates and recognition around that. And that's a really good opportunity to, engage with the broader community, but develop those sort of interpersonal skills that are really important. We also have a program which is called Students at Work, where we employ our own students at the university. And we prepare students on how to apply for roles, the interview process, and then we place students in different roles at the university.
At the university. So there cannot be anything better than that.
No, absolutely. You can work and study in the same place.
Yes.
So there's those opportunities for students. And then we offer careers and advice at the university through career counsellors, both centrally within my team, and many of our faculties offer discipline-specific career advising as well. And that ranges from, the practical stuff around CV building, but also then around networking and engaging with industry as well. And we have a whole range of seminar series across the institution where we bring industry partners in. We'll run seminars. It's an opportunity for students to connect with different industries. And we host, of course, our annual careers fair, which is really successful as well, where we have a lot of employees coming to the university and talking to students about opportunities.
That's I think that's all as a university which we can do, and great. So so that's interesting. So from me, the closing question, if I'll ask you, is when students look back years later, what do you hope they remember the most about their university life?
Yeah, great question. I mean, hopefully they've passed and they've graduated and done all of that, so they're happy with their achievement. But for me, I think it's about, the friends they made, the ideas that they engage with, that they opened their minds to new possibilities, I think is really, really important, and that they made long-lasting friends that will, stay with them along their life journey. And that they had a wonderful time in our wonderful city as well as our wonderful campus. So that's what I hope they take away. And the final thing I'll say around that is I hope they've felt supported by the institution. So much so that they want to remain connected as alumni. And I think that's the sort of, that's what signifies whether someone's had a great time in terms of how proud they are of the institution and wanting to continue to engage with the student well beyond graduation.
Great. Thank you so much. But I still don't want to end this. There's still so many questions coming to my mind. So I'll still ask, I'm always curious. I just heard the news that university got a Nobel around chemistry this year. So what is the entire infrastructure behind this? How come universities are ranked on research, and at a university like University of Melbourne, a lot of students really want to come and pursue their research even at an undergrad level. So what happens how come that happened? How come Nobel happened at Uni Melbourne?
Yeah,
and this is not the first one. I know this is the 9th one. But
I mean, obviously a proud achievement for the university there. I think it's a lot of things. I think the university, has a strong focus on research and its contribution to society more broadly, to transform, and have and contribute to the world in a way that through its research is actually improving things for communities, or industries, etc. And the university invests obviously significant, amounts of money in supporting researchers. But equally, it's, we've got the teaching agenda, which is absolutely central. And from my perspective, being responsible for students, I think what's really exciting is that students can learn from some of the best academics in the world.
I think that's the best part here, yes.
Absolutely. So as well as having great infrastructure in terms of our buildings and our labs, etc., and our classrooms, I think what's really important is that sort of intellectual exchange that can occur in the classroom, can inspire the next generation of researchers.
Correct.
Undergraduate students who might, have never thought that they would want to be an academic or be a researcher.
Yes, nobody really thinks that at year 12, they want to be a researcher. Very few will end up thinking like that. But once they get into a infrastructure like this, wherein they realize that, I can get into, because research can be very intimidating for so many.
Absolutely. So a lot of opportunities, and certainly in our undergraduate degrees, as well as, opportunities to do an internship. Students have opportunities to do a research project. So they'll get a taste of what it's like, and then can, obviously pursue further research programs at the graduate level. But I think, as I said, that intellectual exchange between, young people and our academics is absolutely critical.
Great. So my last question, because there is one term which always I keep on hearing from University of Melbourne, and I keep on passing that to all these students and parents, is any problem, just go to stop one. So I want to understand more from the name, why it came, and what exactly do we do at stop one?
Excellent. So stop one, well, actually, it's got a couple of meanings. The first one is there's a tram stop right outside the building of Stop One called Stop One.
Oh, okay.
And so when we established our student services area, we did a student competition and said to the students, what should we call it? And the students all voted for Stop One.
Great.
Because it made sense in terms of the tram stop.
Yes.
But also that's the first place you go when you arrive at the university.
That's the first place you stop when you come to Uni Melbourne.
Yeah. That's right. But it's not the last stop. Often students will come back because they need other things. But that's how the name came about. So Stop One is essentially the front door to student services. So students, if they've got inquiries about their timetable, their enrolment, if they want to know more about study abroad opportunities or exchange opportunities or careers or sport, they can stop in at Stop One and ask the questions. And if the team at the front line don't know, they'll make referrals to the specialist team. So
Okay,
We
great.
always encourage students to come to Stop One, whether it's in person or by phone or through the AI agent.
Correct. But
Stop
they
One
know
is the
that there is
first
one
point of
place
call.
they can just go tomorrow morning. Yeah,
That's right.
And I think this is very soothing for parents because most of the parents will go and drop their child, especially the undergrad kids, to the university. And once they enter Stop One, they see Stop One, they know that they are at the right place. So thank you so much for such a great infrastructure and great discussion today, Jo. Any last thoughts or last comments you want to pass
No,
on?
just to thank you because it's been great discussion and a real opportunity for us to sort of dig into some of those, I suppose, burning questions that students and parents have. I mean, my advice is, never be afraid to ask a question. There's never a stupid question. So for parents or students, contemplating study at the University of Melbourne, always ask those questions because there's always someone to help you.
Yeah, there's always someone to hear you. Yes. So that's the
Absolutely.
message which everybody needs to take back home, guys. There's always someone to hear you at University of Melbourne. And thank you so much, Jo, for taking time out today for this podcast. I know the real story behind that, and I'm lucky one to get this time. Thank you so much.
No, my absolute pleasure. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Bye-bye.